Welcome to Integrity Inspire, your daily dose of inspiration and motivation, featuring the bright and talented members of the Integrity Marketing Group family. Now, here's your host, Integrity co-founder and CEO, Brian W. Adams.
Hello, everybody, and thanks so much for joining today's Inspire podcast. I'm excited to share another amazing story about two guys that came together to serve more people. I'm joined today by Mike Graham and Mark Minton of Comprehensive Benefits out of Missouri. They've got an incredible business that really is designed to just holistically serve people in their life, health, and wealth needs. And so thank you guys so much for joining us today. Well, I am so excited to catch up. We've gotten to know each other at trips in the past, and this is one of those like sweet reunions for me, just to kind of get to know you guys better and to now be partners together. So tell us a little bit about your business. So you guys started out a little differently than a lot of people. I like to say, I was watching a deal this morning actually about Tom Brady's draft picks, or his draft process. It was this interview. He was talking about it when the fourth round came. And then when the fifth round came, and he said that he went and took a walk with his mom and dad around the block because he's like, what's happening? He actually in the interview starts crying, and he's like, oh my God, like this is real, right? And they said when the Patriots called in the sixth round, he was just like, oh, thank God. And he goes, I was just so worried I was going to have to be an insurance agent. And I was sitting there watching like, what's up, bro? So I don't think many people wake up and I'm going to be an insurance agent in life. You started out as, you're a financial advisor. So you came,
correct.
You know, what we're doing is we built, life and health service and holistically serving people with life and health. Now we're trying to help people more holistically with their wealth management side. Sure. You came at it from the different direction. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm a financial advisor. I've been at it for about 20 years now.
Wow.
And serving seniors and helping people plan and navigate retirement's a lot of fun. Enjoyed the process, and started with a regional brokerage firm in Missouri that had a really client-focused approach. And the thought process was, if the clients are taken care of, the advisors will do well and the business will thrive.
Yeah.
And so those are kind of the values to follow us and kind of help shaped what we've got going.
And how did that lead you into healthcare?
So healthcare came about. A great college friend of mine was with one of the large insurance carriers as a regional manager.
Okay.
And he had been losing good agents to independents over the years. And there was about to be a rift where a number of successful agents were going to be displaced. And so it was a great opportunity to start a business and help some folks out.
And he said, listen, I'm going to get in Medicare. You want to join me on that? So did you just kind of back him and say, look, we can work together on
That's exactly right. Yeah, I wanted to support him to start a business that he could thrive in, and entrepreneurial spirit, be a part of it was very exciting. I started off thinking, boy, when they turn 65 and need healthcare help, that's also when folks retire. So what great synergies.
Oh, it's perfect synergy.
But I quickly learned that that's not our focus. And so that was the wrong angle to look at. What it is helping the agents.
Yeah.
And so that's our passion. That's where we get the best results from, and that's what grows it. And so it's not about us. It's about
your
advisors,
about
the collective.
Yeah, the agents.
Right.
And then this was your college roommate.
Yeah.
Your buddy that says, hey, I'm working for this insurance carrier. I've got to go out on my own. This is an opportunity here.
Yeah.
And ironically, you were in the long-term care industry, and I'm not talking about the insurance side. You were you were an administrator of nursing homes, and you were going through that experience going, I'm not sure this is for me about the same time. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so, I did it for about, 10 years. And I think really what happened was the state surveys, all the regulations that were coming up, I just didn't want to put my family through anything more along that line. So that same college roommate that he's talking about happened to move next to us, literally next door. And as I left the last nursing home, met this guy, Ryan, and said, what do you guys do? Because I kept seeing him on his phone outside. We really thought he was a drug dealer when my wife and I were like, he's in shorts, he works from home, and so.
Is this legal?
What's this guy doing?
And you were already kind of frustrated, right? And you had said that you had already had this like list of like if I leave this industry, I'm gonna create like a different, outcome for me and my family. And you kind of had this list in mind, right?
Yeah, I always had some mentors that I had lined up in my life, and so this one guy says, write down the top 10 things you want in your next job, and I sat down. I want to work from home. I want to stay working with seniors because I love working with seniors, and I want to do teaching and training. I like to do presentations. And as I was talking to my neighbor, who was with this large carrier at the time, and he started describing what an insurance carrier does. And they were looking for agents. I was the first person that they ever hired without a license. So I had to make sure I passed the exam to be able to go to the training that was coming up like 3 months later. And so
did you pass the first time?
I did not pass it the first time.
Most of the best agents in this business did not pass it the first time. My nephew went and got his agent's his license, and he calls me up. He's so proud. And he goes, I got a 93. He's like, I just can't believe I didn't do better. First time I go, on the first try? He goes, yeah, I got a 93. And I go, you didn't have to try that hard. Like that's he was so disappointed. But it's amazing how many people, great agents, go through it multiple times. I remember I passed first time. I think I got a 71. I was like,
that's what I got. I got a 90 on the Series 7 and a 71 on the insurance.
Hey, man, it's harder than
a pass. That's right.
Yeah.
So you're talking to your neighbor. You're thinking he's a drug dealer. Let's come back to that. He's wearing shorts. And so how do you ask him, so what do you do? Like,
I was out mowing, and I'm like, hey, I know you guys moved in, but what exactly do you do? You're always home, And it was tough for him to hire me because I was his neighbor.
That is weird.
And he's managing me. So I learned quickly, if I had a 3 o'clock appointment and I didn't have anything scheduled, I drove right into the driveway, shut the garage door right away because Ryan's right next to me. Yeah. So he goes, I saw you come home. Did you not have anything else to do?
Yeah.
So did that for 10 years, and then there was no more opportunity for me to go anywhere. And getting older, and that's when the approach was from these guys, hey, we're going to shut this thing down, or we're going to need somebody to come in.
This is a really hard business to gain traction on because of
the
way revenue flows with renewals. And so Ryan unfortunately had to take a better opportunity for himself and his family, which is, was a blessing, but it was also tough for the business to have a chance to sustain. And so
you guys have become friends throughout that process.
Yeah.
And
we got very lucky
and then
that Mike was willing
just
to
said,
step up and take
do you want to jump in here? That was 2016, was it, or
2016. So we founded. It will be 10 years old next week.
That is amazing.
And so
that's exciting.
And again, we just, I had a nice, book of business that I was able to AOR, so I could get some income coming in. Mark had his successful business, and so we basically could, not have to take anything out of the company for 3-4 years, and everything we were making, we just started putting back in, and let's do some marketing, let's do some, let's change the letterhead, let's do all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And then we discovered, Meredith and Premier, and the support even back then was incredible.
Meredith is one of the greatest people in the world. Meredith Stenhoff, who's one of our incredible team leaders at Premier, and just an amazing individual. That's where I first met you guys, and Beth and the whole team over there are just amazing people. She's just got this infectious personality, doesn't she? Like, she'll send me an email, and after, because I say this, she'll probably send me one soon. I kind of expect it now. And she's just so encouraging. Like, she's just like, I just want to tell you how encouraging that is. Like, I just love, like, whenever I get an email from her, it just makes me smile.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great compliment? I wish everybody, every time they got an email from me, would go, man, I just smile, right? She's just so great. And it takes people like that, especially when you're trying to grow a business. You guys were getting started, getting things off the ground. You need that support team. And
absolutely. People
don't realize how important that type of a structure is, especially kind of based on the kind of FMO, IMO type model of, let's take some of that burden off of you so you can go and focus on serving the agents and ultimately serving your clients. And it's tough to get started, as you said. You made me laugh when you were talking about your neighbor who was working from home. So whenever I started Integrity, I started out of my house. In fact, I still live in the same house I did when I started. And it was funny, when I got married, I had 6 people in cubicles in the upstairs of our house. And my wife, I mean, and you guys know Stephen Prince, you guys know a lot of the people, but it was really funny. Like, after I got married and different things, and when we moved out of the office, or moved out of the house, I guess it was like 2009, my wife at some point was like, all right, I think it's about time for you to find an office. But it was a hard decision, because when you get started from nothing,
Sure.
it's really hard. And you're like, that is like a dollar spent on rent is a dollar I'm not going to spend on marketing or food, right? I mean, I was still borrowing money to live at that time.
We went from one office to 4,000 square feet.
I know.
Gradually.
And you're like, oh yeah. I mean, it's hard, but it was funny. After I moved out of the house to the office, we were friends with our neighbors and stuff, but it was so funny. The multiple neighbors, like, you had talked to out in the yard, and they were like, all right, like, what were you doing in there? I remember thinking, like, it was back before it was cool to work from home. Now it's like cool to work from home. Back then it was like not cool at all. And I remember, like, I'd lay in bed and think, I wonder if they're gonna come back today. Like, just like, because you're like, okay, this is all I got. We got to do it. And sure enough, you'd hear Steven come in the door, and you're like, all right, I guess he's back. Let's go. Let's get this going. But those were such fun days, like, in retrospect, as you kind of look at that. I know you guys have always taken this real agent-centric approach. You kind of mentioned that early on, as you start thinking about, like, the client-centric approach of how do I get these clients who turn 65 to come into the wealth side. But it really starts with the agent. Everything we do really kind of starts with the agent. And you guys have got great success stories about really helping agents. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so like Mike touched on, we wanted to invest in our agent.
Yeah.
We wanted to do more for our agents than anybody else is willing to do, to foster a culture to get people to want to be part of it.
Yeah.
And so when we wanted to learn how do seminars work, well, we funded a seminar for everybody.
Yeah.
And so we tried to do extra things to be a little different, be outside the box and grow. And it's worked. But Mike, I'll let Mike speak to some of the specifics.
And I think some of the growth, because I learned toward my end of my career with the other carrier, was if I woke up in the morning and I said, I want to have 10 sales today, that wasn't my personality.
Yeah.
Well, I changed it to, how do I help 10 people today?
Yeah.
So when I started taking that focus off, and I think when the agents that were coming from different things over to us, it was more like teaching them a little bit about, you're not going to grow to where you want to be in 1 year, but let's keep doing things that you can grow a nice business in 3 years. So a good friend of mine, she was a teacher. Another guy was in IT. He worked for his brother-in-law. Brother-in-law closed the IT company down, and they're like, we want to know what you do.
Yeah.
And so, I kind of went through it.
They thought you were the drug dealer.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, can we make any money at this? I go, if you guys follow the steps that we're doing with the other agents, totally green. They had no idea. They didn't even know what Medicare was. So we started, and then in 3 years, they had over 250, 300 clients in their book of business. They've hooked up with pharmacies, and it was a husband and wife that I was really worried about, because they had 2 incomes, right?
Yeah.
They had to replace everything. So that was one of our best success stories, was taking somebody like that.
You hit on something that I think is so important. I think that when people learn this point, it unlocks, especially in sales, it unlocks everything. The point about, it's not about the sales, it's about serving people. Mm-hmm. And when I learned that, Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough people get what they want, you can have anything in the world that you want, right? Mm-hmm. It's so true in so many different ways. I remember when I kind of learned that for the first time. When I started out, I was so frustrated. Mm-hmm. And I remember a conversation I had with my best friend growing up, Bubba. He's a big farmer, and he's like, how are things going? I'm like, dude, it sucks, man. If I'm honest, it's been really hard. And I'm like, we've created all this stuff, but nobody's like buying it effectively. And he's like, sales aren't following. And he was like, man, you're focused on the wrong thing. That's a byproduct. Mm-hmm. You got to be focused on all the things you can control. You can't control if somebody buys it. You got to focus on all these other things. And it was like this paradigm shift for me, where I came back and I was like, oh my gosh, we're not a sales company, we're a service company.
Exactly.
And if we focus on serving people and give them all the resources, technology, support, products, everything they need, then the sales will take care of themselves, right?
Yeah,
and
that's right.
and we went all in, and it's probably 07 that we just said, listen, we're not a sales company anymore. And that's when, if you look at our core values, I know we're really aligned on all of our core values, but one of ours is service. It's not, in fact, we don't talk about sales that much around here. We talk about how many people are we serving. You know, our logo even is designed to represent one client at a time, because if we're serving each agent and each client individually and seeing them as individuals and people, then everything else will take care of itself. And that just kind of unlocked everything for us. And I know that that's something you guys have had so much success. And it's one of the reasons, like, we've invested in so much of different, services where a lot of other people, just like you guys said, you're investing in your agents. A lot of people I've had a lot of even competitors say, like, why do you spend so much money on technology and all these other things? Because, like, you're not getting really paid for that. Like, you could just, you don't have to really do all those things. Yeah. I'm like, because at our heart, we're here to serve people. So how has our technology helped you guys even grow faster?
Yeah, and we're just scratching the surface on the technology, but introducing it to the agents and the leads, all that stuff, I think is really starting to propel our growth a little bit in our agency.
Yeah.
So we're excited about it. And we're, like I said, there's so much we don't even know. The new AI and all that's getting the agents to get the app and to work with that. It's these are tools that I wish I had when I was an agent.
Yeah, like me too. That's one of the reasons we've created a lot of this, because it's like, man, when I was in the field, if I could have had this, like, I could have actually been more effective, right?
You've simplified the process
by
giving Medicare Center and all the other technology that comes from that.
It's interesting you say that. You just made me think of something. We just said, if you trust the process, if the agents, getting started in this business is tough, but if you trust the process, it'll work. But we have to simplify the process, and that's really, I really have never thought about it this way. I'm going to use that, and I'll give you credit a couple times. But no, listen, it is like, so if you trust the process, it really makes a difference. But you got to simplify the process so that people can actually understand it and learn it and be able to be successful. And like in our technology, I mean, agents who have been with us, new agents, like brand new agents, sell 38% more apps by just using our technology, just because it's simpler. Agents who have been with us over a year, who've been, in the business for a while, sell 63% more applications just by using the technology we have. So by not doing any more work, they're selling 63% more business. And as an agent in the field, I would have given anything for that, right?
Yeah, right?
And their business stays on the books 27% more agents that don't use technology. I mean, so the data points are just the proof of the fact that it truly works.
But I think you guys did a great job too of not replacing your core values with the technology. I mean, you still go back to the ground. Like,
this is a people business. If we forget that,
like Meredith will be at our 10-year party. She'll come to our kickoff. I mean, it's that which drove us to Premier in the first place. Yeah. Because you started with a different.
Can I give you a story on that? Yeah, we were with a different upline, and they didn't have one of the insurance companies that we needed to offer for a complete, for our agents to have all the major carriers. Yeah. And so we met Meredith. She came out and saw us, and it started with a product, but you guys won it with people. With the support, the personalization.
So the technology hasn't bypassed that.
That's such an important point that sometimes it starts with a product, and then the people. I mean, it's like going to a restaurant. Like in Texas, there's Mexican food everywhere. There's 5 different Mexican food places within a 3-mile radius of my house, and we typically go back to the same one most of the time. Honestly, I don't like their chips and salsa as much. I like this other place's chips and salsa way better, personally. I'm a chips and salsa guy. Their margaritas, I'm a margarita guy. Their margaritas pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. Their fajitas suck. I'm like, if there's another place, if I want fajitas, I love this other fajita place. But we go back to the same place over and over because the people are amazing. Yeah. And the food's really good too, don't get me wrong. But it's like, if you compare it, like on margin, it's not that much different. But we go back every single week because they remember who we are. But these other restaurants, you go in, you're just a number. And it's those simple things in life that just keeps bringing you back. And I think that's just such an important part.
And we've just felt the support for the last 10 years. I mean, it's been amazing. And, we were learning the contracting process. Yeah. Still learning the contracting process. And Meredith is like, one day you guys need to do your own contract. She's like, we'll help you out with it for a while.
That's awesome. Yeah. Now, you also have a son that's joined you in the business, I understand.
Yeah, so when I was transitioning out into independence, my kids were, they were in, high school. I'm like, okay, so we have to send out all these letters, and these letters are going to allow Dad to get money back as those clients stay with them. So they were watching me write these letters and then go into the mailbox and seeing that the agent's been changed over to my new company. And I had them all involved, my daughter, my sons, and then they would get on the phone and call people, hey, my dad sent you this letter. And so that's how they got kind of introduced to it. And two of them are now working in the business.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic kids.
That is so awesome.
Young men now.
How old are they now?
So my oldest is 29. He's married, and the youngest is 25. He was working on the inside with us in our little call center, and then decided he kept seeing the numbers on independence, and so he went independent. And he's struggling, like everybody else does.
Good for him.
But he needs to do that.
Good for him. Look, right. I think about this all the time. Like, if it would have came really easy, I don't know if I would have appreciated it. And that's where. I was at dinner just the other day talking to another founder of another big business, and we didn't talk about the good stuff. We talked about, dude, in the early days, this is how bad it was hard. And he was like, oh my God, yeah. He was like, I built it and I thought they would come. And he was like, he called it the field of dreams management style did not work. I built it and nobody came. Like, you have to actually really work on this. And I think that there's a lot of benefits to that. I think it's also fun to tie your family into, I know I grew up in a small family business and worked at my parents' funeral home as a little kid. I probably need to do a better job of doing that now with my kids. But you guys are both big family guys, big outdoors guys. Tell us a little bit about your family as we kind of wrap up here.
Yeah, I have two boys, 13 and 15, and we started off doing a lot of outdoor stuff, Cub Scouts. And
you're right ahead of me. Mine are 9 and 12. Okay. About to be 10 and 12. So you're right ahead of me. 13 and 15 is getting more complicated?
So a little bit, but we realized we've got a smaller window of where they think we're cool and still want to be around us. And so we bought an RV.
There's some real truth to that. Bought an RV.
Bought an RV a couple of years ago, with the goal of kind of checking out every state, visiting the state parks.
Is it the one that you drive, or do you pull it behind? Or
no, it's a drive.
It's a drive?
Yeah.
How do you like that, man?
It's fun. Yeah,
so I rented one over the Christmas holidays. We were all going back to my parents, where I grew up, and I decided to rent one and drive it. It was a lot harder. I don't know. I think it drove me. I was like, I'm driving, my wife, everybody's having fun playing cards in the back.
White knuckle driving.
And I'm just like, and it was in like one of the worst rainstorms in the world. I was like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. But you like it?
Yeah. No,
it is super cool. I'm not gonna lie. There's some, especially if you're in the back. If you're not having to drive it, it is super cool.
Yeah. Sure.
Your kids just love being able to hang out and what do you guys like to do most in traveling?
And then we also invested in a little lake property just before COVID, and we're starting to build there now.
You got to be intentional. Those are things like being intentional with kids.
Unplug and get out for different experiences.
Really important. I love that. What about you?
So
do you have an RV too?
I had one. Had a pull behind, and my oldest played competitive baseball. So we thought, well, we'll go to his tournaments, and then we can have a place to stay. But then he's always staying with the team, and the campgrounds were not real close to the stadiums he was playing with. So, and then
you get his kind, so you can just pull up, and then you can go in and chill out during the wait time between the first game and the third game or whatever it is. Oh man!
And then the wife says, "I want to do a new kitchen. I said, well, let's sell the camper and we can do a new kitchen.
The kitchen costs more than the camper.
So our kids grew up, and we have a little property too, not really far from Mark's, and so a little lakefront that we haven't built on yet. So we're trying to figure that one out. But there's an age difference between Mark and I, and
a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
But a lot of similarities.
Values
so
and thought process.
They just grew up wanting to be outside. My oldest fishes all the time and loving these cicadas right now because the fishing is unbelievable with these cicadas falling into the lakes.
Really?
He said it's just been crazy. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And being able to tie them into the family business at such an early age, I think is such a valuable part of that. Right. And then being intentional with your family. I think that's something that my wife and I try to really do is like, how do you get them off a video game and try to get them outside playing catch, going fishing, going out into outdoors is so important. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we're here to serve American families, but we're also here to provide for our family and take care of them and set up that legacy. And that's what I think we'll all be judged on the most into the future. Right. And it sounds like you guys are just doing an amazing job on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I think our focus changed too with we, in our office space, we helped a non-for-profit get in there who serves the community.
Love that.
So our kids, and I know you guys are probably going to get involved too, will go serve meals to the city of St. Louis, and she's tied in the community, and we're meeting people all over, and just I would have never been able to do this working for somebody else.
Yeah.
So just the time to be able to meet with people, and the mayor now, and just meeting new people that are really enhancing us in our personal lives and in the business.
Yeah, look, this is a business that you can give back in so many different ways, and that's something that we're so proud to be partners with. Not only people like yourself who also share that, but also other organizations that you can give back and have a meaningful impact. Especially, it comes back to service. This comes back to this business is pretty simple when it comes down to it. It's about people and serving them well. Yeah. And if you can focus on that, there's no limit to how much success you can have. So, guys, we couldn't be more proud to be your partner. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. Appreciate the opportunity to share y'all's story and to serve even more people together. I think the sky's the limit. If you think about the way that you can come around and serve people and the impact we can have on not only their life, but other people around them, the sky's the limit. And we're excited about that. I hope everybody has an incredible week this week. God bless you all, and look forward to serving even more people with all of you as well. Take care, and God bless you.